She lit the fire at dawn and someone died inside. Imagine Main Street in Ballymoney, just before 7 on the morning of Tuesday, July 1st. A sudden flare, a house engulfed in flames. Neighbors wake to sirens piercing the dawn. By the time firefighters from Ballymoney and Coleraine arrive with one jet and two hose-reel jets, the battle is already raging. They pull a man to safety. Paddy Douglas, aged 55, is whisked to hospital, but tragedy strikes. He never regains consciousness. In the hours that follow, what began as a tragic fire morphs into something far darker. The Peace Night launches a murder investigation, and by Wednesday, a 34-year-old woman is in custody, held on suspicion of taking a life in that inferno. That stark contrast that a morning blaze could hide a lethal mystery is exactly the kind of shock that hooks you in. Who started the fire? Why him? And why did the Peace Night treat this like more than just an accident? Hold tight, because this is only the beginning of the story. Patrick Douglas wasn't just another name in a headline. Around Ballymoney, he was known simply as Paddy, a familiar face, a man with a kind word for everyone. Locals say he had a heart of gold. In a town where people still wave to each other from across the street, Paddy stood out. Not because he was loud, but because he cared. He was 55 years old, a father, a grandfather, a friend. The kind of man who'd walk into the corner shop and ask how your mother was doing because he actually remembered her name. Paddy worked hard, lived simply, and didn't go looking for trouble. That's what makes what happened to him all the more chilling. Neighbors remember the morning of the fire with tears in their eyes. One called it a nightmare in daylight. Another, a shop owner just steps away from the blaze, said Paddy never hurt a soul. When the fire trucks came and smoke poured into the sky, nobody expected to lose him. And nobody could believe it when police said it wasn't just an accident. Now the town is mourning. Flowers are piling up outside the scorched doorway. Tributes cover the window ledges. Messages from friends, from strangers' notes saying, "Rest easy, Paddy," and "You didn't deserve this." But behind every candle left burning, there's a growing question no one wants to ask aloud. Why would anyone want Paddy dead? At first, it looked like a tragic accident, an early morning house fire in a quiet northern Irish town. But within hours, that story started to unravel. The fire broke out just before 7 on the morning of Tuesday, July 1st, on Main Street in Ballymoney. Firefighters arrived fast. They broke through smoke and flames, pulled Paddy Douglas out, and rushed him to hospital. But the damage was already done. He would not survive. While neighbors grieved, detectives were watching. Something didn't sit right. The fire had moved too quickly, too aggressively, and the location of Paddy's body raised suspicions. It wasn't just that he'd been caught in the fire. It was where he was found that made investigators pause. Forensics were called in. Experts combed through the ash and twisted metal. Their early findings: the fire may have been started intentionally. Accelerants suspected signs of direct ignition, not just faulty wiring or a tipped-over candle. This wasn't bad luck. It might have been planned. And it gets darker. As investigators pieced together Paddy's final hours, they discovered something else. He hadn't just been trapped. He may have been attacked before the blaze even began. By Wednesday, the tone had changed completely. What began as a routine house fire was now officially a murder investigation. The Peace Night wasn't looking for the cause of the flames anymore. They were looking for a killer. And by the end of that day, they had someone in mind. By the evening of Wednesday, July 3rd, Ballymoney wasn't whispering about an accident anymore. It was murmuring about murder. And just like that, detectives moved in. A 34-year-old woman was arrested. Quietly, no sirens, no shouting. Just taken into custody by Peace Night officers questioned on suspicion of killing Paddy Douglas. The town buzzed. Who was she? What was her connection to Paddy? And why would anyone go this far? Police kept things tight-lipped. No name, no photo, no official motive. But behind those courtroom walls, a serious charge was building. By Friday, July 5th, the woman was formally charged with murder. Less than 4 days after the fire, the case had escalated from tragedy to full-blown criminal prosecution. She was brought before Ballymena Magistrates Court the next morning, head down, silent. She spoke only once, to confirm she understood the charge. No bail was granted. The judge ordered her remanded in custody, meaning she wouldn't be walking free anytime soon. The courtroom was tense. Reporters took notes, locals held their breath, and the woman was led away, escorted by officers. No outburst, no emotion, just silence. Legally, her identity remains hidden under reporting restrictions, but people are already filling in the blanks, speculating, guessing, wondering how someone so seemingly ordinary could be caught at the center of something so horrific. But even as she sat behind bars, one chilling question echoed louder than the rest. Was this really just a fire or something far more calculated? Once the flames were out and the smoke had cleared, what remained inside that house wasn't just charred furniture or blackened walls. It was evidence, and it started talking. Fire investigators moved in, sifting through layers of debris, tracing burn patterns, testing materials. What they found sent a ripple straight back to Peacenigh headquarters. The blaze hadn't started in a random spot like near a kitchen stove or faulty socket. Instead, the ignition point was deliberate. Experts suspected combustible materials had been set alight directly. Accelerants may have been used to spread the flames faster. This wasn't just a tragic electrical fire. It looked like someone had tried to cover something up. But even more chilling, the state of Paddy's body. Sources close to the investigation believe there were injuries inconsistent with fire-related death. That raised a red flag. Had he been hurt or worse before the flames were lit? Was this a case of murder by stabbing, then fire to erase the crime scene? Police haven't officially confirmed the nature of those injuries, but they haven't denied them either. And the murder charge, it wouldn't have been filed unless detectives were holding something strong, something undeniable from inside that scorched building. This wasn't a house fire that turned deadly. This was a death that became a fire. Now the forensics are locked away, the suspect is behind bars, and the town is left holding its breath. Because the final answers, they're still hiding in the shadows of that gutted house. With a murder charge filed and the suspect remanded in custody, the town of Ballymoney hasn't exhaled. If anything, the tension has only thickened. Because even now, in the calm after the fire, the biggest questions remain unanswered. Police have issued a public appeal. They're asking anyone who was on Main Street just before 7 on the morning of Tuesday, July 1st to come forward. Maybe someone saw movement near the house, a figure in the alley, a door left open, a noise that didn't belong. Even the smallest detail, something someone dismissed as nothing, could crack this case wide open. The Peacenigh has provided a reference number, 196010725. That's what anyone with information should quote when contacting detectives, and they mean anyone. Friends, neighbors, delivery drivers, passers-by. The timeline is tight, but it still has holes, and those holes could be the difference between a life sentence and someone walking free. Meanwhile, the legal process begins to grind forward. The suspect's next court appearance is scheduled for Monday, July 28th. That hearing will be brief but crucial. Prosecutors will likely outline early evidence, hint at motive, maybe even disclose forensic leads. It'll be the first chance for the public to glimpse the shape of the case forming behind closed doors. And as all this simmers, the town watches. Paddy's family waits. The house on Main Street stands gutted and cold. But the story inside it, far from over. Because now we know this wasn't an accident. It was a message. And someone somewhere still knows what really happened before the fire lit the sky.